All right, Jabosai, good morning. Let us begin. So we are continuing in Tzidkas Hatzaddik, and we are picking up on the PDF that I sent out on page Chavches. So remember again, the Rebbe has been espousing this beautiful idea and framework that just as the world is created from day and night, Yom and Laila, Or and Choshech, so too the life of a person is comprised of these periods of day and night as well. Times of accomplishment, times of setback, times of growth, times of failure. The Rebbe said, based on the pasuk, like the Baal Shem Tov said, Ki sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. So remember again, we translate this as that the tzaddik will fall 7 times, but he will get back up. So the Baal Shem Tov said, remember again, what's the significance of 7? 7 representing the 7 days of the week, the unit of creation. That there are times ultimately again throughout the week where a person fails, where a person falls, and again that's a cycle that repeats itself over and over and over. The godless, the greatness of the tzaddik is the ability to go ahead and get back up, even though there's a recognition that the failure will be constant and ongoing, will just be a circle and a cycle that repeats itself. Va'amnam, another Rebbe says as follows: Gam be'is hachoshech tzarech ar halavana ar hakochalim. This is very beautiful. So Rebbe says again, if we're looking at the natural world kind of as a metaphor for the life of man, so then much in the same way that even when it's dark outside, even when it's dark, it's never totally dark, right? Even in the darkness of the night, there is still the light of the moon, the light of the stars, dinami arhu, that is still considered to be light. So the Rebbe says something so beautiful. Even in the midst of the darkness of the night, it's never totally black. It's never totally dark. There's never a fundamental absence of light, because even in the nighttime, there's still the light of the moon and there's still the light of the stars. So we'll say, so what does this mean? If you take a look at the Be'eri Hasidus, he says something so beautiful. He says, "Va'amnam gam kimoshe gam be'is hachoshech tzarech HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'hayres alum kar levana kar ba'ara kochavim." Just like in the natural world, even when it's dark outside, HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides some amount of light with the moon and the stars. Sha'al arza amnu chazal dinami arhu kidi isa reish psachim kimokin kishkeshachashuch lenefesh adam Yisrael nitzrach lo lehischazek ba'ar halavana hamramezes leknesses Yisrael. So we'll say, so without getting into all the discussion that he's getting into over here, this is really beautiful. What the Rebbe is highlighting is this yisod. Really, you're going to see it's a two-pronged yisod. That even when it's dark outside, it's never fully dark. Even when it's dark outside, there is still an element of light, right? There is still the moon, there is still the stars, there is still some element of luminescence. So the Rebbe says, this is what has to happen in the life of man as well. Even when it's dark, and remember again, in the Rebbe's model, darkness represents periods of failure. Darkness represents periods where there is no growth, times of setback. Darkness represents times of adversity. Even when it's dark outside, there still has to be a little bit of light in the form of the stars, in the form of the moon. And the Rebbe goes on and he says, Ubebeso tzarich ar haner mitzvah. So too in one's home, and we'll discuss that terminology in just a moment. In one's home, there must also be the light of the ner, the light of the candle, which is the light of mitzvah. Look what he writes in the Be'urei Chasidus. He says, "Umashe bebeso shel adam, sarich balayla lahayir beemsaus or haner, miramezes al or hamavhik laadam measias iza mitzvah maasis." So the Rebbe says something so beautiful. Excuse me. The Rebbe says that even when it's dark outside, a person has to have some amount of or haner, some amount ultimately again of light from the candle. He says this is the light that emanates from the performance of a mitzvah. Me'asiyas eizo mitzvah masis, kimo shekasuv, ner mitzvah, v'torah ar. Sha'ar hayotzi mimas, I'm reading in the Berach Hasidus, Sha'ar hayotzi mimas ha-mitzvah, nimshal l'ner, va'ar zeh, hu amoil l'nefesh ha'adam bizmana chashecha, v'astar sanas. We'll say this is so beautiful. The Rebbe says, what do you do? Now you see, what the Rebbe is doing is establishing for us almost like these are the parameters of life. So what are the parameters of life? There's Or and there's Choshech. There's Yom and there's Laila. There's periods of light, periods of darkness. And there's no such thing as a person who escapes this reality. Remember again, as the Baal Shem Tov said, this is Chozrim Chalila. This is a cycle that goes on and on and on. Life is a constant Yom and Laila, Laila Yom. So now what happens if I find myself in the midst of Laila? What happens? I find myself in the midst of a nighttime. Life is difficult. Circumstances are not really so optimal. I'm not really growing. I'm not really progressing. So what do? Sibba says, you'd say, okay, well, in the model that we espoused before, it's like a gal hamiskalgel. It's a cycle. So kind of just wait it out. But of course, you know that in Yiddishkeit, we never believe in waiting anything out. You never just wait for stuff to happen. You figure out ultimately, again, what it is that you need to do. So what do? What do I do if I find myself in the midst of the Laila, of the Choshech? So the Rebbe says, create some light. Create some light. Now, it might be true, you might not be able to necessarily bring a full daytime, a full-blown Yom, or full-blown Or. That might be possible. But even in the absence of the ability to bring the full day or full light, a person is obligated to bring some level of light. Just like in the midst of the darkness, remember what we said before, just like in the midst of the night is never totally black. There's some light, there's a moon, there's stars. Are the moon and the stars as luminescent as the daytime sun? No, but it's some light nevertheless. So too says the Rebbe. When a person finds themselves in the midst of their life darkness, when you find yourself in the midst of the light, in the midst of Choshech, you must create some Or for yourself. Even if it's just Or Haner, even just a little bit of candlelight. And how do you create that candlelight, says the Rebbe? That's through a mitzvah. Person does a mitzvah. Person engages in some type of positive, dynamic, spiritual activity. Ultimately, they are creating for themselves Or. They're creating for themselves some light. Va'ar Torah. Similarly, again, create for yourself the light of Torah. Shemesh umagin Hashem. Zeu Torah l'shem shamayim. Bebehiros hakaras Hashem shamayim. So Rebbe says something amazing. He says, if you find yourself in the midst of darkness, create light. Create light. But it's not going to be so bright. And it's not going to be so incredible. It's not going to be so luminescent. It's okay. It's okay. You just can't allow yourself to dwell in the midst of darkness. You can't allow yourself to dwell in the Choshech. You have to create some level of light for yourself. He goes on, V'zeu oavav kitzeis hashemesh, u'mitzadiki harabim kikochavim, shalom Torah. So this is really an incredible idea. So therefore, every time you do a mitzvah, you create for yourself some degree of light. Every single time you learn Torah, you create for yourself some degree of light. Every single time you engage in some type of positive, dynamic, spiritual activity, you are creating light. But it's not as strong and as bright as the sun. It's okay. Your job, my job, is just when I find myself in the midst of darkness, to do something to dispel some level of the darkness. And even though right now in life I may not have the capacity to do something so dramatic so as to bring out the sun, whatever you do, don't allow yourself to dwell in the enveloping darkness. The smallest mitzvah, the most little bit of Torah, has the ability to kindle that ner, that light in my home, which begins the process of driving away the darkness. All right, so we'll stop over here for today. We'll pick up in Meretz Hashem and on the rest of Os Yud Gimel in Meretz Hashem tomorrow. Shkoyach.